welcome back to another episode of the FEP Talk Show with Oladoyin, a channel where true life stories, real life experiences, impact and knowledge is shared on finance, entrepreneurship and purpose. And on today's episode of Purpose, I have here with me a leadership coach, a management and productivity consultant. He works with the National Productivity Center in Abuja here and is by the name Mr. Victor Ainoko. Correct?
Yeah, very correct.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for coming to the show. It's
Thank you for having me.
All right, sir. So, what other things would you like the FEP to know about you?
Okay, you just said, my name is Victor Ainoko. I'm a Nigerian, of course. I'm from Kogi State, Dekina local government to be precise. I was born in Dekina. I had my primary school in Dekina. My father is from Iyale in Dekina, my mother from Apocho in Dekina. As a matter of fact, if I'm from the far north, I should be bearing Victor Dekina. Because practically I have a strong heritage with the town. Okay. And the Dekina is the local government headquarters. That is where I grew up. So everything about Dekina embodies it as a person. So that's where I'm from. By educational background, I went to Federal Community College in Bolao, my secondary school. I went to Benue State University in Makurdi, where I graduated with BSc Political Science with a bias of Political Economy. My master's I did Kogi State University in International Relations and Strategic Studies. And of course, PhD is already in view. So that's for my career, educational background. Then career, I've done a lot about career in my young age. I worked in a legal firm as an auditor and as a librarian. I audited briefs, and also I took care of the legal firm's library in terms of borrowing and sorting of materials and resources. I also did that. I also work with an NGO, Frederick Ebbe Stiftung, as a program officer. I also worked with a honorable member of the House of Representatives, Honorable Mohammed Ogoshionawo, who is currently a senator now, as a legislative aide. I made research into most of his presentations and bills in the House then. He still wants me to be with him currently, but I'm presently with the National Productivity Center as a consultant and also as a productivity research officer. And also happen to be the public relations officer of the agency in Nigeria. So that's for career part. I'm married, yes. My wife is amazing. She's a wonderful woman, and I have 2 girls. I have 2 daughters, Stephanie and Adele. I think that's a bit more of myself.
Yes, so you don't like to go into politics?
Politics. No, surprisingly, when I actually wanted to read economics, and I was given political science, and I felt, no, I don't want to be a politician. And actually, my father is a politician. Dr. Abdul Ainoko is a former chairman of the Dekina local government. So he's a politician, a civil servant, and a businessman. So some things about the Nigerian politics I was not very okay with them. So I don't want to be politician. Although my family and friends keeps calling me senator, I don't know how it's going to happen.
Even through your portfolio.
Except it will happen without elections.
It's looking like you might sometimes go into it.
Yeah, they kept telling me, but let's see what the future holds. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir, for the introduction.
Thank you.
All right, sir. So you are a career person. You have family, and I also know you to be a leadership coach. So how do you merge all these things together and still have a balanced life?
Yes, the first is to understand purpose. That's where the journey began from. Through teachings, through books, we've come to understand, and through the Word of God, we've come to understand what purpose actually means. Once you understand purpose, you will know how to prioritize and how to balance both business, family, career, and everything that you have to handle as a human being. And the purpose is very clear. There are a lot of books about purpose, about career, but the summary of it is relationship and job or work, as it were. That's what defines purpose. But the most important is relationship. Of course, the foundation of all relationship is with your maker, God. If you have that relationship, it shapes every other part of your life, because the life of God imparted in man is what defines how fulfilled and how you achieve things in life. So after that relationship, then you go to relationship with man, talking about family, talking about friends, colleagues. It spreads across. From there, you can now look at what most people most of times think purpose begins and ends with a sort of job, work, business. What are your skills, your talents? How do you identify? How do you deploy? How do you develop those skills and special qualities or traits God have given to you as a person? So it's a good thing when you discover this, you have found purpose.
Yeah.
But I like to correct that. Relationship is where purpose is bettered. Then through that, you discover self, you discover things about self, then you begin to do those things. So your achievements, your performance, your dreams and desires must align with your relationship with God and everyone around you. So if in getting all these achievements, you destroy your relationship with God and people, you'll be of most men misery. You discover that. So with that understanding, I could now know, okay, the most important thing in life is my relationship with God. Because if I lose that connection, I lose everything.
Yeah.
Now, with that life of God in me, it will help me relationship with everyone around me, beginning from my wife, my spouse, my father, colleagues, friends, then members of the family of God, brethren. There is a strong bond, and those relationships are very key. So that whatever I achieve, whatever I become, or will ever become what I am now, I can connect and relate with everyone who obviously should be part of whatever I'm achieving. So that's where I balance this career, business, and family. From that understanding is the foundation. Then I have to talk about the issue of the gift of having the right partner. Is one of the best gifts, and I'll tell anyone here, it's better you are not married than marrying the wrong person. It's better. But to get the right person is the greatest gift after salvation. Write it down somewhere. The best gift God can give to you after salvation is marrying the right person, because it becomes easy to communicate, to engage, to flow with each other's passion and drive for life, to be there for each other and see each other growing and achieving things. But with the wrong person, you will never connect, you will never align, you will never communicate, you will never engage, and you destroy each other's lives and purpose. So that's why I said it's the best thing. So God blessed me with the right partner who understands me, understands my purpose, my callings, my giftings, and everything. And that made it easy for me to balance the relationship between my career and family. And then the third thing is communication. Communication is key, is a driving force. People must know part-time what God is saying to you. They must know part-time where you are heading to, so that they know which role they will play in helping you get to that place. But when the communication is not clear, is not certain, assumptions come in and problems start popping up. So communication is very key. I think these are some of the ways I've been able to balance. But the basis is understanding purpose.
Understand, and
Purpose.
with God and with men.
With
Wow.
men.
Thank you so much, sir, for
Thank you.
this explanation. I know someone out there has picked the most priority is just with God. Then from God it passes down to man, to people around you. Thank you, sir. So moving on to the topic that we have for today. You are a leadership coach, and the topic for today is sustaining leadership. We have so many people out there that they are born leaders, but some have to grow into it. So what do you think about leadership? Like your own definition of who a leader is and how to be a leader.
All right. Thank you very much. Leadership, it's key. As popular that everything rises and falls on leadership. Leadership have different spheres, and like you say, some are born, Some are taught, some become, some learn it. Yes, whichever way it's possible. The being born is that you have innate traits of leading people. And at times it may be an impartation of grace. Now, having said this, leadership is very important, but I will define leadership very simple. But as a consultant, I want to begin with what leadership is not. Then I'll tell you what leadership is, then tell you the 5 variables of key leadership. Whether leadership in any sphere, and I mean general leadership. First, leadership is not position. I am the GMD does not make you a leader. I am the head pastor does not make you a leader. I am the head of the house. I'm the man of the house. I married you. It doesn't make you a leader. So position is not leadership. So that's where we need to pay attention to. So aspiring to become something, acquire power and authority is not leadership. So power and authority is not leadership. So these things are enablers to help leadership achieve, but they are not leadership in themselves. So you can give power and authority to someone who is not a leader. Disaster is inevitable. Number 3, seniority is not leadership. As a matter of seniority is not leadership. There is nothing leadership about seniority. I'm older than you is not leadership. Then another thing, influence on its own is not leadership. I've read many books and say leadership is nothing more or less but influence. Influence is not leadership, and I'm going to explain that very soon. So that you have influence on somebody doesn't mean you are a leader to that person. Perhaps the person is induced negatively. So influence needs to be put in proper perspective. So influence is not leadership. What of followership? Followership is not leadership. I've heard people say if you are leading and you are alone, you are taking a walk. You had those quotes. There are a lot of quotes about leadership that some of our leadership coaches will laugh at them. At times I laugh seriously at those quotes. If you are leading and no one is following you, are taking is true. You've had such things. Let the whole world follow you. You may not still be a leader. And I'm going to explain. So followership is not leadership. Thank God for social media now. You may have 5 million followers. It does not make you a leader.
Exactly. Yeah.
They are just following you for what they can say and what they can get. Doesn't mean you are a leader. And I'm going to explain that. So these are some of the things you get to see that it doesn't equate to leadership. So it means that you have followers, that you have some level of influence, that you are a senior, that you have position, perhaps power and authority does not make you a leader. So now what is leadership? Leadership is social influence that maximizes other people's effort to achieve a goal for the benefits of everyone involved and engaged. So I'll take it again. Leadership is a social influence that maximizes the efforts of others to achieve a certain goal that is of great benefit to everyone involved and engaged. I'm going to pick out 4 things that defines leadership. Number 1 is a social influence. It's not an economic influence. It's not a political influence. It's not a scientific influence. It's not even a demonic influence. It's a social influence. And I mean social is a product of interactions and engagements. The ability to engage and interact with people. Like we are talking now, we're engaging in social engagements. Then you are able to influence the other person through engagement. And I'll explain how that happens. Now, when you share thoughts, you engage, you align with people's thoughts and their beliefs and their values. That is where the real influence for leadership begins from. But when I give you money to act in certain ways, I am inducing you, I am not influencing you. So that you have employees who are paid salaries and you think you are their leader. That's not true. The day you stop paying them salary, you will know if they've ever believed and followed you. You are now beginning to see leadership clearly now, that some things we think is leadership. That's why some people are in power, they are respected, they are valued. One day out of office, nobody calls them or picks their phone. They say, who is this? Who is calling me? That's the same person you greet sir, boss every day. He was just a manager with authority and power, never a leader. Now, but what a leader is different. 10 years after, the impact, the influence is stable, is consistent. And that's why it says it's social influence that make what? It maximizes the effort of others. So leaders build, discovers, develops the great strengths of others to achieve goals. So leadership has an outcome, has a focus, achievement of goal. So if you lead and there is no goal inside, there is no outcome, you are not leading, you are wasting everybody's time. So in the engagement, there should be a goal and outcome. That when it is achieved, the team and yourself know that the engagement through your leadership achieved something. Now it's possible to achieve a thing that benefits only you, like Nigerian politicians. That's still not leadership. Because the definition says to the benefit. You see how all-encompassing leadership is. So it's not just about leading, about achieving goals, about helping people discover the best of themselves and contributing to the process of achieving goals. But at the end of the day, what is being achieved should benefit not just you, but everyone around you. Now that defines leadership. So the ability to make sure that all these variables are in place, that is where we begin to value leadership. So leadership, it's key, it's core to God and to humanity. The greatest disaster you can find in every community is the disaster of leadership. In church, in business places, in government, in families, wrong and disaster leadership is the greatest problem you can find in society. And that's why God does not even joke with the issue of leadership. And guess what? This leadership begins with yourself, self-leadership. A man that cannot lead himself is only controlling others. He can never be a leader.
A man that cannot lead himself
can only control others. He will never lead them. It's very between controlling people and leading people. I can sit here and send 70 people around Abuja, controlling them and managing them. But I can be everywhere in the 17 places with everyone I am leading. Yeah, it's possible. It's possible you're not even there physically, but you are with them.
Yeah.
It's leadership. You engage, you feel the pulse, you know what they face, you make sure you understand what is going on, and you are in there with them. The places you can be physically, you are standing there with them. So leadership is not in abstract. You have to be present and visible. But the person who does not understand leadership wields power and authority, controls everything, and feels he's in charge, and he thinks he's leading. The day power and authority eludes him, he becomes a nobody. Yes, that's why you see former senators, presidents, governors, big captains of industry reduced to nothing when authority, power, and wealth is taken off. But a true leader, without all of this that I mentioned, connects to the audience, they listen, they understand his heart. He does not need money, power, authority. He's genuinely loved and legitimately feared. That's a leader. Without legality. Well, a manager and someone who's drunk with power rides on legality. Do you know my power in the role as a leader? Do you know what is my responsibility to control you? Do you know I'm put here to be in charge? Legality. He doesn't think of influence, he doesn't think of affluence, he doesn't think of relevance. So these are issues of leadership. I believe that you can begin to relate with it now to know if you're actually a leader or just a manager who relies on authority and power. So these are the issues of leadership. I believe someone can pick something from.
You wanted to talk about the five. So we're going to speak on the five aspects of leadership now. So you mentioned it earlier.
Yeah, five aspects of leadership. Yes, very important. The first is self-leadership. Self-leadership. Because man must know himself and must discover himself. You don't need to to be in a place where your weaknesses, which we all have, by the way, and your failures stare at you in the presence of those you are leading.
So you should not allow it.
You should not allow it in leadership. And I'm going to, so that's why self-leadership is very key. Now, when you want to lead yourself, you come to a place where you understand your strengths and your weaknesses. And what do you do to your weaknesses? You work on them. You try to improve. Some you cannot even improve. You find a way and a part of either your strength or something that can cover that weakness. You are in a group and you know that a part of you has a weakness in something. You pick the strength of a team member that can cover your weakness. That's the way of not making it obvious. You are a leader, but you are not good at expression and speaking. What do?
Picking a strength from the member.
From the member. You articulate it, the person helps you to speak. It doesn't make you a weak leader. But because you don't know how to express, you don't know how to speak to your audience, to relate issues, it will be a problem to your leadership style. Because they'll say, she spoke for 2 hours, but I don't get what she wants us to do. Or what she wants. You don't want that. But if you have a spokesperson who expresses everything, and he knows how to articulate and speak, you have covered that weakness. Moses had that unique.
Yes, and Aaron
articulated it. I don't want to go into scripture too much, but I need to relate us back to the scripture. And a lot of leaders, a lot. David, Saul, I can point out where there are weaknesses. Some didn't notice it, they allowed it to show up. Moses told God, he said, look, you know I'm a stammerer, for God's sake. He said, don't worry. He didn't even believe in the miracle that God can touch his tongues.
Yes.
He said, don't worry, I'll give you Aaron. Articulate to him. He will express it. That's just what self-leadership. You must know yourself. Know your strength, your weaknesses, work on yourself. Leadership is not by accident. You just say, I'll just sit there, they just call me, I'm a leader now. If you've never been prepared and been ready for leadership by accident will be a disaster to yourself and those you are leading. And that's where people say leaders are born, not because when they give birth to them, they put an oil and they are now a leader. No, because from their birth, they woke up to the realization that they are created to lead and they must be the best of leader. That consciousness is the better. But there are people who think that they are just meant to be following and just be there. They cannot articulate ideas and generate visions to lead. So it becomes a problem for them to lead. There are people who cannot lead their homes. There are fathers who have failed to lead because they felt they were never leaders. There are mothers who cannot lead because they felt they are just mothers and maybe housewives. No. Everyone must realize that self-leadership aspect, which is the first. The second level of aspect of leadership that everyone must pay attention to is what I call community leadership. Community leadership, we say, is the next level of leadership where unconsciously or consciously people give you responsibility. People give you tasks and they expect you to perform it. Whether it's a church community, school community, and all of that. Office community. Okay, there's a project. Maybe you just the day you say no, me, I don't like leading. You have told that community that you don't and you will not belong to the class of leaders. So when people say, why don't you lead? Why don't you do this? And you say that I cannot do, you are saying I cannot perform, I cannot be responsible, I cannot be accountable. That's where the position of leadership begins from. Leaders embrace tasks and assignments. Why don't you get this done? Get this person to join you to do it. Be excited about it. Get it done. That's how leadership is built. Right from the homes to that community level, that's how it is built. And that aspect of community leadership is where leadership is shaped, because it connects with the family. That's where it's shaped. That's where it's shaped. Then the next aspect of leadership, after I leave the self-leadership, community leadership, the aspect that we call in consultancy the nuclear leadership. Now, what it means is a leadership that separates you from the rest. For example, somebody is given an assignment. He's supposed to deliver, but he sublets the assignment to you. Assignment that you will do individually. Now, your result will be his result. Your failure will be his failure. Whatever you do and submit to him, because he doesn't have the time to express it, will become a determinant for the next level leadership which I will go to. And this is how leaders are raised most times. Someone is in a fix and suddenly he remembers that, okay, Peter can help me get this done.
Yeah.
My hands are full. There's a lot of tasks. Okay, let me just send this to Peter. Help me get this thing done and get the result for me to submit. And then you perform very well. You know what that person thinks of you?
Yeah.
Anywhere such assignment is mentioned in this life, you will mention you as the best to do it. And you climb into a particular ladder and you arrive there. That is how I became the public relations officer of National Productivity Center. And it works. I joined the organization for just 2 years, National Productivity Center, by the rules of the game, by the laws of the book. You must be an assistant director to become the public relations officer of an agency in Nigeria. But in 2 years, as a junior officer, I was appointed the public relations officer of National Productivity Center, an organization that are as old as myself. How did it happen? It's just that I just explained to you. Then you rise into leadership.
Yeah.
And every leadership position comes with authority and power.
Yeah.
But like I told you, authority and power are not actually leadership. They are just enablers to help you perform well. But the day you rely on them, you lose touch with leadership. So that nuclear leadership is where you are called upon and you must go deep in to bring out knowledge, skills, and competence to deliver. And once you deliver, you place yourself in a place of leadership where you are called upon to take up responsibility and positions of authority. There are people who sat on their own, people say, if you need the best person for this assignment, because they were put in a nuclear leadership, they put them in a place, in a spot, and they delivered. And they were in a room waiting to be announced. So from that self to community to nuclear, where you are singled out to perform a particular task, not necessarily with a team.
Yeah.
Perhaps you can lead a team to do it, but you are recognized for the ability to perform. Then you bring yourself to that place. Now there is a place what we call open leadership. That is where you are announced. That's the next aspect. You are announced, and people like open leadership.
Yes.
Even when they've not gone through these aspects.
Yes.
And it's a journey.
Yeah.
You say, I want to be the MD.
Yeah.
I want to be the chief this of this. I like that rank, that name. People love open leadership.
Yeah.
They want to get it by appointment, by election, by crook or hook, by bribery.
Yes.
I am now the chief commander. They like that open leadership, where everybody recognizes your position of authority and your demands. And that's what people are excited about. That's what the glamour, the glory, the names, the titles. And by the way, title is not leadership. Yeah, title is not leadership. Write it down somewhere. Do you know I'm the music director?
Yes.
It's not leadership. Do you know I'm the AGM of this group? It's not. Do you know I'm the director? It's not leadership. There is somebody that may have more knowledge about directing, more knowledge about the business of the office. He may be bearing the name director, but the person is the actual director.
Yeah.
So you must have what it takes to actually direct, to be a director. So titles are better in that open leadership, where we assume those positions. But if we are not groomed properly through these processes, you will arrive there and become a disaster. People start asking, how did he become?
Yeah.
How did he? Wait, who voted him? We hear this.
Yes.
Who voted this guy as a senator? For God's sake.
When?
How did he? Those questions happen because the process were not followed. He arrived at open leadership. And open leadership is very dangerous. If you arrive not prepared, you arrive not being ready for leadership, you not only become a problem to yourself. That's not even the problem. You become a disaster to the society. You leave people more in misery and pain, agony, than you met them. And that is the worst that leadership can do for anybody in the society. So at the open leadership, you begin to operate. Now, if you are well-baked, you are well-positioned and prepared for leadership, then in open leadership, you now rise to the zenith of leadership, which can become global and interconnected. That the influence of your sphere begin to affect other spheres. That's where the zenith of leadership, the final aspect, some call it global leadership, where your decisions, the things you do in one sphere, in one community, in one nation, affects others positively. Then that is the height and the peak of it. That is the level you reach, that you are no longer in power, but people sought wisdom, counsel, knowledge. Your influence, you speak one word, it affects a lot of decisions. To arrive at that place is a journey that began with self-leadership. And in open leadership is your level of performance and influence and real quality leadership that will get you to the zenith of leadership and that global level where you become a great influence outside of your sphere, outside of the church sector, outside of your company, outside of your community, outside of your nation. It takes that height of zenith leadership to connect. Now, these are aspects that will take time to get into it. There are a lot in it, but I think for this discussion, these aspects will help you to appreciate how leadership grows through and then becomes a resource of influence and inspiration.
In short, leadership is a process on its own. Just like you grow to get to a point. That's the same for leadership. You grow into it. Either you are born a leader, either you have the qualifications. You grow into it. Leadership is a process on it. So you can't just jump to that peak. Nobody will say counsel for me if you don't pass through the normal process. Thank you so much, sir, for this. This is an eye opener. Thank you so much. I want you to share your story into your own growth of being a leader and the challenges that you face.
All right. Thank you so much. Leadership. I'll start by experience and exposure. And share some of my experience and the challenges and how to navigate those challenges. The first is experience, and it's that experience that made some people think leadership is by birth, being born into it. I grew up in a home, of course, a polygamous home. I was the only. I'm actually the only son of my mother. So I had a close relationship with my mom and my grandmother. Now, my grandmother has shops that they sell things. People sell things for her. And each time she would beckon on my mother to bring me. I was at between 5 to 6, 7, 8 years old. So I was not that big. And when I come, she would tell me to supervise the sales. Know what each person sells for the day. Get the inventory, take notes on what they sold and what is remaining. Balance the accounts. There are those we pay every day after they finish selling. Do the payment, bring back the money home. I take the money, some to bank and all of that. As young as 7, 8, thereabout. I was still in primary school. So when I arrive at the market, all the sellers know me. Small guy has come. They don't need to see grandma. So everybody bring their book. This is the stock. This is how much I have sold. I will compare, confirm it. Then I will tick that you are right. How much have you sold? You give me the money. I will go with one elder auntie. Now the question there was, the auntie was older, was bigger, should be doing that. But I didn't know why my grandmother keeps using me, and she was like the police officer following me. carry me down. I'll do everything. We go to the community bank there. I pay what we pay. The amount I take to her at home, I take it there. This experience for 4 years started forming something in me.
So you did that for 4 years?
Yes. Almost 4 years. Before I went to secondary school. Of course, my secondary school was boarding school. So most time I didn't spend quality time with my own father and mother than I spent with my grandmother. She calls me her manager. In fact, she said she will hand over the business of selling farm products to me. So I should have been in the village selling and coordinating those women by now. So that experience began to shape something, accountability, responsibility. I felt I must do the best to make sure my grandmother's business does not fail. Or you sell wrongly, you try to cheat her, I will catch you.
So what do you do today?
I will catch you and report you.
Okay.
Most times they will beg me and return the money.
Okay.
Some will bend the underneath of the container they are using to sell. So they reduce the quantity of the product, so that whatever is remaining after they reach a particular, they can sell it for themselves. I will check their containers bed and push it down. They are cheating people and cheating my grandma. The same people will stop coming to buy because your quantity when they take is different from the actual quantity. At the small age of 7, 8, that's where leadership is found from. That's an experience. I also had another experience in primary school. One day, I think it was my birthday. My grandmother gave me 50 naira. 50 naira was big money then. I should go and enjoy myself with my friends in school. So I came to school. I said, it's my birthday. Let me buy my friends whatever they want to eat. Bought things for people. And I met a young man who told me that he doesn't want to eat whatever biscuit I want to buy for him in school. That they've not eaten since morning in their house. I said, and I'm buying biscuit for people here. And I said, okay, we took 10 naira, we bought gari, bought some things. During break, we begged our teacher, he took it home. The next day, the whole family came to school looking for me. They thanked me. They never seen this kind of small child like me, but they couldn't have eaten that day and all of that. From that time till today, as I'm sitting, influence. That part, I know him now, he's doing well for himself. But if he sees my call, anything, the way he will react is different from usual. And he will keep reminding me, we nearly died, if not that you saved us that day. I haven't eaten for 2 days. Those experiences started telling me that there are things you do to people that last for long. There are things that problems you solve that will even go beyond your generation. That's what the leadership thinks of. How do I solve problems that goes beyond me? That's what leadership begin to envision and begin to create and begin to think. So there's a lot of thinking and a lot of acting when it comes to leadership. That was the experience. And even in secondary school, I also had some experience that was shaping my leadership growth. So experience shapes leadership. That's the first thing. Now, exposure also shapes leadership. I was opportuned to work closely with Barrister Osholi James, SAN. That is my mom's younger brother, my uncle. I actually became the Minister of State for Labor and Employment in Nigeria. I worked in his chambers, I worked with him in his business. It was not just an uncle, he was a mentor. He deliberately exposed me to leadership. Any team is if he's on a team in a board, he makes sure they add me. It teaches me how things are done, how people are led, how you react, how you don't act. So that also exposed me to leadership. Out of church. Church exposed me to leadership like no other place. And I used to say this in my office. I'm also a professional public relations officer. So there are things I don't. They say, how do I say? Yes, I learned it in church. See, church, yes. NCCF. By the way, the exposure, I like to link one exposure. In the secondary school, I was in press club. I read news, I write briefs, I write news commentaries. In service, I was in SCCF in Yobe State, and they appointed me as the what called Pablo, State Pablo.
Yeah.
The writing, editing, news, journals continued. In my present career, I'm the public relations officer. Are you seeing the link?
Yeah.
Life has a way of connecting your past to your present to your future. So the skills and the experiences of 10 years ago, don't discard them. They will show up in the next 2 years. So media relations, writing, editing from secondary school through NCCF showed up in my career. There's a link. So the leadership was formed through this exposure. Now I'm leading the production unit of an agency, but the leadership was built through this link. So what are the challenges you face? Now, there are a lot of challenges you face at this different space, and that is where I believe everyone must grow through, because the more you overcome challenges, you get stronger and you get bigger. The first challenge is self. The thinking that there's somebody better than you are. The thinking that you are not good enough, no experience enough. You don't. The mindset. That mindset, if it does not shift, you will not enter into true leadership. You must know that all that God wants in a man to do anything, you have it in you. You are the best of your version. Yeah. That's why our thumbprints are different. Bring everybody in this world. Nobody can get what I'm holding here. You are unique. You are different. So everything you need to become, to achieve in life, you have it. It's just to discover, develop, find it. That's just it. That's the first challenge. That's why some people, especially when you come into a sphere where the competition is high, people are struggling for positions and authority. You don't need to struggle with them. Just be your own leader. Leadership is not position. That's why I kept saying leadership is social influence that maximizes the efforts of others. Once this is happening and towards a goal that benefits everybody, gradually everybody will discover you're actually the leader. That's how it works. So that's the first. The second challenge is how to inspire others. You see, the human being created by God is a very unique being. How to get into people's mind is the greatest gift any leader can have. You see, motivating people is not getting them to do something.
It's not even leadership at times, because
it's not even leadership at times.
Yes.
So it's just needed for that time. But when you are an inspiration to people, you don't need to motivate them.
Yeah.
When you move, they are with you.
Yes.
If you stand, they are standing. That's leadership. That's leadership. And that's where the true test of leadership begins, the ability to actually inspire people, become an inspiration, an unseen force. You are not speaking, yet they are hearing.
Yeah.
You've not said a word, but they've taken the note. That's the height of leadership. And its extreme social influence. That's where we should all aspire to be. So that's the second challenge of life, the ability to inspire others. So, because I discovered that every leadership position I got into, inspiring others, becoming that personality that inspires them, was the greatest challenge in actual leadership. It's good, you have good ideas, you have clear vision, you are passing it well, but becoming that personality that inspires them to act and flow with you is the greatest call of leadership. And where people don't have that, they fall back to force, power, and authority. Say, do you know who I am? Do you know how long I've been in this unit, in this organization? You are inducing with force now, coercion. Now, once you are a true leader, you don't need that. So those are some of the challenges of leadership. What of management and utilization of resources? Human relations, communication, management of all resources, man, material, money. You can manage man, but you can't manage money. That's a character disaster.
Yeah.
This boss, when it comes to money, he has changed. He does not joke with money. That's a problem. You should be able to be equitable and efficient in managing all resources as far as leadership is concerned. I mean all resources. And there are more than 14 resources. I don't want to go into them. All. Some resources are not seen with the normal eyes in leadership. You must manage it. Ego is a resource. So you think ego and pride is a problem. No, it's never a problem to a leader. You have a team member who is so full of himself or herself. You can use that to achieve things and break him. Yeah, there's a way to do it. I don't want to go into that. But those are issues you solve. So the ability to manage all resources, including man, material, labor, machines, everything, is the greatest skills a leader can have. The moment you can manage all efficiently, effectively, and very well, leadership is in trouble. And guess what? Most leaders fail when it comes to management of resources, starting from man. I think these challenges three are not enough for us to...
I'm tempted to ask this question. So who are the leaders? Like, how do when I see someone, how do I know that this person is a leader?
The first thing you see, which is most obvious, is a personality that inspires. A personality that inspires. It's not in dressing and appearance, which is good. Fine suit, sleek, hair make, smell good, Queen's English, beautiful. But beyond the appearance, there's a personality a leader has. It's an aura. Whether he's smiling, he's frowning, as he's standing, you get things through him without him doing anything. And for those of us who are believers, we believe most often or not it's an impartation. Most times when you carry God's presence, it can equate that personality. So for believers, it's even a shortcut. Carry God's presence. You have that leadership personality. You enter a place, you don't need to smell nice. You don't need to wear the best color. They know this guy is somebody. They want to hear you. They want to connect. They want to network you. You've not said anything. It's not juju. It's God's presence. Some go and pay for it. Some do makeup for it. But it's beyond it. And that personality connects you to every other thing you will say. One is vision, character. Now, when they say this personality, your character must now tell whether indeed you're a leader. There are qualities of a leader that you cannot negotiate with. Very outstanding qualities: intelligence, maturity, humility, simplicity. There are qualities that you see in a leader, you will know that you want to be with and around that person. And that's very important. So character will define that personality. Intelligence, knowledge. A leader will tell you, I'm smart. I mean, I don't need to know everything. I just make sure those that knows it around me and I use them. You are nearly going to be a manager very soon, not a leader. A leader does not mean you should just be there and you must know. Knowledge and skills are key to leadership. Your followers and members or people around you should know that you are a deposit of in-depth knowledge. In-depth knowledge of the skill, of the issues, of anything you are leading people around. Know it like the back of your hand. And by the way, it takes knowledge for a young man who joined an agency of 2 years to be declared public relations officer. It was knowledge. The general asked them a question. He said he has written 14 papers in 2 years. No one in the history of the center has done that. He has participated in 7 projects in 2 years. No one has ever done that. So those who wanted to challenge why I should be appointed backed out, because he asked them, Have you ever done
Yes,
14
what have you
in your
done?
14 years in this agency? How many papers have you written? You say 5. You say he wrote 14 in 2 years. Leader generate ideas. As a leader, you must have what I call strategic thinking ability, systemic thinking ability, and critical thinking ability. There are 3 different kinds of thinking. Systemic thinking is the ability to see the whole from a one spot. The ability to connect the dots. So this reaction leads to this person will do this will do that. You see to the end. That is systemic thinking. And these are issues we discuss in leadership I can't do here. Let me even show you 2 things that these were written by me, powered by National Productivity Center. This is Productivity Handbook for Nigerian corpers. The Nigerian government is sponsoring this free for all corpers in Nigeria, starting from next month. This is a Productivity Handbook for secondary school students in Nigeria. Yours beloved developed this. Our program we use in Nigeria in secondary school for all productivity clubs. You can see my name and everything behind it. So anywhere it goes to Nigeria, this is signature that contributed to Nigerian managers. That's what leadership is all about. You leave your footprint. You create things that will exist. Somebody said, won't you publish this to be paid? Why? A lot of my people are wondering, why you've been writing books, writing this? I said, I want in 25 years time to come, my daughter Stephanie will walk into National Productivity Center and told them the things her father has done for this agency. So I'm seeing beyond now.
So even when you're no longer there,
even when I'm no longer there, these books they speak. The things I do, they speak. That's what the leader thinks. You don't think of now. You look far. You create visions. You create journeys that you may not even be able to accomplish. But you believe someone will accomplish it. That's leadership. The ability to see things from afar and go for it. So leadership is very key. So thank you very much for
No. This is
thank you very much.
This is the eye opener, sir. Thank you so much. Wow. Okay, sir. In summary, just give an advice to everyone watching this video.
Okay, thank you very much. My advice is you have 2 advice. The first is please, by all means, try and understand purpose. By all means, read books, go for trainings and teachings because it's key. Because if you don't understand purpose, you will miss out of life. It's even possible you achieve things and build things and you will die miserable without purpose. So make sure you understand purpose, you discover your purpose, you deploy it, you develop it. That's where the true fulfillment is. So you must understand that purpose is key. There are a lot of materials to read and to use. How I got to know I'm a consultant right from my 200 level in university is reading books on purpose. Purpose-driven life opened my eyes. By Miles Morris, he opened my eyes. Then I had an uncle in NIFES, Uncle Oluremi, he's a medical doctor, who told me, look, the way you talk, the way you like to think and research things and know things, you're a natural consultant. This is where I start betting from. So I love God, I serve Him, I live for Him, I do what I love and enjoy. Fulfillment is key. Like, let me define success for you. Success is doing that which you enjoy, yet you are paid for. So even when they don't pay, you are enjoying it. When they pay, you are flexing. That's true success. But that success is aligned when it's in line with purpose and the will of God for your life. So that is the first advice. Secondly, please, you are a leader. Everyone listen to me, you are a leader. You must consciously develop your self-leadership and start that journey to Zenith leadership. Before you arrive at open leadership, make sure you are prepared and ready so that you become an influence beyond your sphere. Those are my 2 advice. So leadership, you are the one. You are key to it. And becoming the leader. You're a leader. Wow. Become that leader God wants you to be. And make sure you become that influence in that sphere of life.
I don't have anything to say again because this is it. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your heart to the world. This is an eye for me, Seth. It's an eye opener. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Your handles for them to follow you. They want to reach out to you for advice.
For consulting, for advice. For now, I'm actually trying to shift into another phase of my life. By the way, by June of this year, we'll be having a new Director General. So, as a publication officer, there are chances that I will ask for permission to shift to another consultancy phase, where I will make my handles more open for consulting. But I'm on Facebook, Victor Ainoko, as short. I'm on Instagram, still Victor Ainoko at Victor Ainoko. I'm also on Twitter at Victor Ainoko. But I believe the other platforms are great after June. And I hope I'll still be happy to do with my sister.
So from June, just watch out for June. I'm glad of it. So you're going to come back with this is really.
I hope so.
You're going to come back on this show.
I hope so. At least young people, I'm a young person too, so I can keep sharing experience with you how God is raising all of us gradually. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Team FEP, thank you for watching today's episode of the FEP Talk Show. I'm not just the only person that learned from this video. I know this video is an eye-opener for you as well. Thank you, sir, for coming once again. Please follow us on all our pages on Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook at the FEP Talk Show. You can also reach us on our Gmail, thefeptalkshow@gmail.com. We are open for partnership, we are open for sponsorship. So please tell them to subscribe on our YouTube channel.
Definitely, please subscribe, follow this discussion, and trust me, you'll be blessed. Your life will be transformed.
Please follow us on our YouTube, subscribe at the FEP Talk Show, click that notification bell, like and comment. Your reviews are very important. Comment. Thank you. Till I come your way next week, Monday, I remain Oladoye. Bye.